Hello folks, so I gave the Wuchang drama a few days to die down before returning to it and seeing how things had progressed. So for today's video, we are going to briefly recount Wuchang's movement since release before taking a look at just what's occurred over the past few days. To start us off, we have Lindsay, the developers behind Wuchang, technically being founded within 2016, releasing a single-player VR title in 2021, which was named AD 2047, and didn't necessarily do much in terms of boosting their overall reputation. It's reviewed as an overall pretty good game, but with some clear performance issues. Later in 2021, they released the first ever trailer for Wuchang, which very much helped Lindsay secure publishing with 505 Games. At some point mid-development, Lindsay moved the entirety of Wuchang from Unreal Engine 4 over to Unreal Engine 5. This was announced in early 2025 and was met with a fair amount of concerns from the fanbase. And then fast forward a few more months and we finally have Wuchang releasing just under a month ago. Release was immediately met with an onslaught of negative reviews. Wuchang was of course plagued with a plethora of performance issues for both consoles and PC, as many fans had feared when they heard the Unreal Engine 5 news earlier this year, and ultimately Wuchang was very much review bombed into the dirt. Yes, I'm using the term review bombed correctly. It's used when both the reviews are and aren't necessarily warranted or justified. During launch day, Lindsay and 505 Games issued a statement to the player base, apologising for the issues and promising to rectify things immediately. This was followed with multiple updates over the coming days, which for the most part seemed to have rectified a fair few of the original issues, and then over the next few weeks, things had appeared to have gotten much better. We had an announcement regarding reparations for issues with the deluxe edition on Steam, resulting in all players on all platforms getting at least some free stuff, but mainly Steam players will be receiving additional armor and weapons. This was all then shortly followed up with the announcement of patch 1.5, which was outlined to have a lot of the core fixes players wanted for both performance and gameplay, most notably the knockdown and healing time mechanics. Amidst all of this, Wuchang had risen from roughly 34% positive reviews on Steam up to 50%, where it has remained for roughly a week or so. Interestingly enough, Steam recently introduced a review by language setting, so when I first loaded up Wuchang today to check, it did say 69% positive, but this was regarding the roughly 4,000 English reviews and none from any other language. Anyway, before we knew it, patch 1.5 came and went, and in the few days following the update, all manner of hidden changes did begin to reveal themselves. This wasn't to say the patch didn't fix a plethora of issues and for the most part improved the experience for consoles and PC, but some of its changes have ultimately caused a fair amount of backlash. Firstly, PlayStation 5 players exclusively have reported that Wuchang's movement is jagged and stuttery since the update, and given how long it can take for these updates to be rolled out, it's likely they are stuck with it for the foreseeable future. Outside of this, however, the most controversial aspects of patch 1.5 would be the complete overhaul to the Ming forces within the game and how this has impacted the overall narrative and quest lines featured throughout the game. With the changes, all Ming bosses now remain alive despite defeating them, and none of the Ming forces are now hostile or can be defeated by the player, resulting in entire segments of the game becoming trivial in terms of difficulty. Now, to touch on why this occurred, I'll point you all in the direction of this video right here, where I do break it down much more than I'm about to, but to summarize very briefly, Chinese players, and quite possibly just people from China in general, did not agree with how the Ming forces and historical figures were the only forces featured in the game, and that they were all enemies, when during this time period, Qing forces had begun to invade the lands. So, to make a long story very short, Ming descendants have accused Lindsay of being racist towards Han citizens, aka the Ming dynasty, whilst protecting the Manchurians, aka the Qing dynasty. As I said, that's a very brief breakdown. There has been lots of information floating around here and there regarding where the backlash is actually coming from, and it would appear it's Chinese citizens that are contacting Chinese government, and it's likely that there was some pressure from both parties for Lindsay to rectify what those parties believe to be offensive. What this has all meant for the game itself, however, is now many of the quest lines and overall themes of Wuchang no longer make much sense and have lost a lot of the original weight they carried. I won't go into the specifics so as to save you all from any potential spoilers, but essentially every Ming boss now survives, and thus their story has subsequently changed, and one of the main endings for the game now makes little to no sense, and overall it's just left a bit of a bad taste in a lot of players' mouths. Since the first report of these changes, the official Wuchang Discord, ran by the developers and/or associates of the developers themselves, has been removing entire posts, mostly the ones pertaining to the patch 1.5 changes, but some of the deleted posts have seemingly been random and not related to the patch 1.5 at all. Since I last reported on the subreddit mods removing posts, they have created a patch 1.5 mega thread where they state the following. Hello Wuchang community, as is widely known, since the release of patch 1.5, the game has undergone significant alterations, which have generated considerable debate within the community. Consequently, numerous posts were removed from the feed to prevent repetition and sensitivity. We sincerely apologise for any inconvenience this may have caused, and acknowledge the negative feedback received from the community regarding this kind of prevention. In response to this feedback, the moderation team of this subreddit is pleased to introduce a mega thread dedicated to discussing patch 1.5. We welcome all members to share constructive criticism as well as their opinions on the changes made. We understand this decision should have been made earlier, but as the old saying goes, better late than never. Please remember to adhere to the Reddit guidelines and subreddit rules whilst posting on this dedicated thread. We hope you enjoy. Now, I don't really know what to make of the previous post being deleted. It makes sense for the most part for the reasons they have given, and now that the mega thread does exist, there really is no reason to dwell on it too much, but we do have more developments here that have taken the censoring to a whole new level. Just today, I stumbled across this post right here, where OP explains that a simple post made about one of Wuchang's trophies was removed from the official Wuchang subreddit, despite it not containing any NSFW content. And the reasons given for the ban were as follows. You have been banned because you are a spicy creator or you post corn. This does not mean that you have posted any NSFW content on our sub. It means that on your profile, you have activity on other NSFW subs like OnlyFans or Fansly, or are one of the following blah blah blah. Now, regardless of what you actually think of Reddit as a platform, the official Wuchang sub is ran by the mods themselves, and they are now banning folks due to activity outside of the actual sub, which I find absolutely ridiculous. Singling out your individual fans for what they get up to in their own time is an insane thing for game developers to do. This makes me not want to engage with the community at all for fear of being banned for a random post or comment I may have made on any random NSFW sub at any point over any of the previous years. I try to remain neutral on this platform, with the aim being to report on the news and let folks make their own informed opinions, but I feel I have to call this out for what it is, and that is ridiculous. I've made a mini documentary on Leansy, looking into their past and how they've grown over the years. I've dived into the recent controversy regarding the backlash in China, the changes to the 1.5 update, and then of course the backlash from the rest of the world. And throughout the entirety of, I've always understood and appreciated the difficult position Leansy have found themselves in, but on this particular occasion, I'm all out of understanding. I don't even quite know how to articulate this. I receive comments I'm not happy with almost on a weekly basis, and yet I only ever really delete the outright offensive and vulgar ones. Moderating the sub to clean up things is one thing, but diving into individual account history in search of a reason to ban or suspend the account is beyond bad practice, and I feel is a quick way to make a bad name for yourself within gaming. I certainly won't be keeping quiet about it, and the longer that the sub continues to delete and censor the community, the longer I'll continue to report on it and ensure that at least to some degree, that portion of the community will continue to be heard. I don't like sticking to a particular topic if it doesn't receive substantial developments, but I'll happily make a few more videos and rake in a few thousand more views, just despite the fact they are censoring the community in the first place. It wasn't my initial plan, but here we are. Also, I don't want to sound like I'm getting too worked up here, and I'm certainly not kept up at night thinking about this type of stuff, but I do have a platform and I do disagree with the censorship, so for the foreseeable future, I'll be countering the censorship with news videos of my own, and it's about as simple and straightforward as that. But with all of that said and done, this does very much bring us to today. It's been quite a bumpy ride of ups and downs over the past 3 or so weeks. Wuchang has now sold over 1 million copies and will likely continue to sell relatively well for the foreseeable future. So in terms of success, it's safe to say that Leansy have just about won. It wasn't as spectacular a victory as it could have been, but given all the negativity, they have done well to have achieved what they have. Now, in regards to moving forward, I previously debated about covering other aspects of this recent backlash after any future changes. However, up until now, I have refrained from doing so, mainly due to not wanting to be the guy who finds something that is somewhat lucrative and then milks it for all it's worth, and because I feel I'm not in the best position to effectively cover the entirety of this topic. as fascinating as I have found the entire endeavor. However, given the individual censorship on the subreddit and possibly even the Discord, but I haven't really been checking Discord all that much, I will be sticking with this topic for the foreseeable future. We won't rehash much, but any future censorship will absolutely be reported on. Other than this though, I will be wide-eyed and all ears for all things Wuchang moving forward, so do stay tuned for any and all future developments. As a few side notes, folks, we did of course have the announcement trailer for Where Winds Meet this morning, which revealed the game to be releasing on November 14th. There's also the possibility of an open beta between now and then, with Where Winds Meet being a free-to-play game, so we'll be covering a lot more between now and release. Additionally, we also have Hell Is Us releasing on the 4th of September, but paid early access begins on the 1st of September instead, and I will of course be making a range of guide and news videos for that. So there is plenty on the horizon, and I'm getting excited to be playing some games a little bit different to what I have been just recently. But that would be it for this one, folks. I'll be back over the coming days with plenty more Wuchang and Hell Is Us, and I do of course have a range of guides and news videos on the channel already, so do feel free to stop on by and check things out. But otherwise, thanks for watching, folks, and until next time, peace.